Welcome back, Rankers. What an eventful and sad week, the loss of Steve Jobs. That guy, like most of us in this industry, had a huge impact on my business even over the last 3 years. We switched the whole business across to Mac in 2008. I now have an iPad, an iPhone, and an Apple TV, and I don't know what I'd do without the devices. And I bought an iPod Touch when they first came out, just to get an idea of what the design was all about, and I was just blown away. I couldn't believe that we could go from something like the Nokia or this device right here. This is circa 2001. It is the MP Man. It's the world's first MP3 player. Holds a massive 8 songs. And this is the thing that started it all. And, you know, now we've got this thing here. What a guy. And as weird as it is to me, I was actually working with John Scully, the guy who sacked Steve Jobs from Apple when OS X was coming out. So Steve Jobs would have been back at Apple and John Scully would have been out. And when I saw OS X, I just thought, and based on a Unix operating environment, Intel chips, an operating system for the masses that just works beautifully and still does. So sadly missed, big week. But this week I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about online reputation management and, well, not so much online reputation management, but the sorts of things that people will end up searching for based on what they've heard from their friends. And this also, I'm incorporating into this the merging, if you like, of part of Webmaster tools into Google Analytics, which happened last week. And basically what Google has done is that they've made the query section, so the part of Google Webmaster tools, which is under your search queries here, you will now find this, and you've got to hook it up, you've got to connect it and plug it in, and I'll show you where you go and do that. If you go into traffic sources in Google Analytics, and go into search engine optimization and go into queries, there's a couple of steps you've got to jump through, and then you'll get that information within your analytics environment. It really isn't that much different. It's just that, I don't know, it's one interface to access all this information, because your impression information is really important. A lot of people will be used to impression information if you've been running AdWords campaigns. And impression basically is the amount of times someone types a phrase in. So, for instance, this is the phrase that we entitled our post, gasp fail, and that's the phrase we were trying to rank for. And we can see here it got 250 impressions. That means 250 people have typed it in since the 26th of September to the 10th of October in Australia. And of those 250, 50 people have clicked on our link, which on average ranked about 3.7. So it went to number 1, then it dropped back to 2. It started at number 4 over this period of time. So that's where the average comes from. And so that gives us a click-through rate of 18%. So if you're used to AdWords, you'd be used to these sorts of calculations. But what's important in this situation is that, look at this one here, Gasp Melbourne. We weren't trying to rank for that. And incidentally, there's 76 phrases here that we've ended up ranking for with one article. So when people tell you that, okay, we'll have a primary phrase, a secondary phrase, and a tertiary phrase, it's like, well, sure, it's good to know which phrases are the most popular and which phrases are, you know, less popular as you go down the track. But seriously, if you write a good piece of content using the keywords that your customers use, you will rank for hundreds of phrases. This is one article, one page, and we've got 76 different versions of the word gasp. And you'll see here, Gasp Melbourne. This is what's interesting, and this is why you need this data. 500 impressions, but only 30 clicks, so only a click-through rate of 5.4%. But look at the average position, 7.6. So it's right down towards the bottom of the page. It's still getting a 5% click-through rate, but there's 500 impressions. Imagine what would happen if we got that to number 1. I'm not going to try, because seriously, what am I going to do with that traffic, right? But this is how you would use your impressions information in Google Webmaster Tools. Bring it into analytics, you'll love it. It's great. So, and just remember that it's, the things that you're missing out on if you don't have Google Webmaster Tools set up are, to me, the most important tools for SEO. This is where I start. There's a lot of other tools out there, but Google Webmaster Tools is it. I was going to say something else, but it wouldn't have been family friendly. And the most important ones for me are always under diagnostics. That's where I would start when I go to analyze the site. So get that. The other story this week in online reputation management is that Google was sued by a bloke called Jamie McIntyre, who was trying to get the details of a site called JamieMcIntyreExposed.com. Now you may think, why would you sue Google to get the details of a third-party site? Well, the reason is a convoluted one. If you go and do a whois lookup on JamieMcIntyreExposed.com, you will see here that it's all domains by proxy, which basically means it's a private registration and they're hiding their details. They don't want anyone to find out who they are, or they just want some privacy. It turns out that this site has been calling Jamie McIntyre a thieving scumbag, amongst other things, as reported in newslimited.com. And so what they've done, they've seen, apparently at some point, this site has had Google AdSense on it. Now, you would question them, you would question the intelligence of someone who sets up a site purely to attack a third person and then put AdSense on it. Anyway, Jamie McIntyre's lawyers have gone to the court saying, give us this, Google, give us the details of this guy who you have an advertising relationship with. The court said, yeah, you've got to do it. So they've got 28 days to do it. So that's, and presumably, they're looking for information like this is our own account information for Google AdSense, which is when you have AdWords on your own site. So it gives you the payee name, who the check gets made out to, address, all that sort of stuff. But, they've got 28 days to hand over that information. So there's no AdSense on that site now, that Jamie McIntyre Exposed site now. But, when did they get rid of the AdSense? Have they closed that account? How much data has Google got on hand that can give them now anyway? And you'll see here there's already been some legal responses to some of the search results. So if you were to go and type in Jamie McIntyre Exposed now, you will see that the pages that were ranking, well, you won't see them because they've been removed, but there were pages ranking that apparently that were the most damaging. It looks like they have now been removed in response to a legal request. It's not clear at the moment whether that's Jamie McIntyre's lawyers, but you would think that's the logical people who would have made that legal request. The story in News Limited doesn't tell us more about it. I don't understand how you can, what the court case would have been to remove those pages from Google. Because if you do a search on the site, on JamieMcIntyreExposed.com, there's still about 30 pages in the index, and they're all pretty nasty pages. I mean, none of them are really that nice. But I'd say what they've done here is the pages that were ranking up high for his name, they have actually taken legal action to get removed. I've never seen that successful. It's the first time I've seen that. So they must have had pretty good grounds to do it for Google to comply with that. And then the court case following that, trying to find out who actually owns the site by Google handing over the AdSense data. But that is it for today's show, and we'll see you next week. Thanks very much.